Hello guys and welcome to this video, and today I want to show you what I think are the best introductions to solo role playing on an easier pocket format. And they are already on the screen. There are those two here, Dungeon Hero and Pocket Delver. I've talked about those before. I have gameplay live videos from TikTok that I always archive here in the channel, so you can go check them out after this video. But before we start, I wanted to tell you why I think these two are the introduction you should go for if you want to play solo RPGs, especially if you have never played an RPG before, a TTRPG before, which was my case when I started looking for solo alternatives, and why I think those two are the ones that you should choose if you want to do that. So, a little bit of a backstory. When I started to want to play ATTRPG, I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons because I've been hearing about it for years and years and years, and I have never played it. I have never found a group. I have never found someone like a dungeon master or anyone that could at least explain to me what the game was. And I would go online and look at videos, and it it was still a little bit hard to understand as someone who was not ever introduced to that and never met anyone who played it. So it was really hard. And eventually I found about oracles and generative resources, random tables and all of that. And I actually managed to play D&D solo. It was my first solo game, was an adaptation of D&D. But this is not easy. It was not easy at all, and it it's not right, like the best alternative, I think, looking back now, for someone who doesn't know anything and want to start playing. It's actually really hard and can be very not encouraging for you to start. So after that, I started learning more about solo TTRPGs, and I found like my little pocket guides, these ones and a bunch of other ones, including the ones I showed on my full collection video, the last video I posted. And these two in particular, for me, are the best to introduce anyone to a TTRPG, a solo TTRPG, but to TTRPG in general, because they don't require you anything. You don't need an oracle, really. You don't need uh, any extra tools besides these, like, pocket mods to play. So today I want to show you how they work, specifically each one of them, and why you would choose those games in particular. So let's start with Dungeon Hero, because there's quite a bit in here, and I'm going to explain why there's so much, why it's not just like one. And then we go to Pocket Delver later. Okay, so talking about Dungeon Hero, there are two types of books here, this one and all of these ones. To actually play, once you get the rules down, which is this one right here, there's even an example of play, so that can be quite easy to understand how to use this game, how to play this game. So you have the rules and you have the adventure, so the modules. And even though this is a like single adventure per book, you can play every book multiple times, and you will see when I explain how the game works. So basically, what is this? You're going to make a hero, so it starts telling you to create a name for the hero and putting some specific points in there. For example, if I show you here, I usually already have these points marked here with a pen because they don't change. It's always the same amount of points, so they are already here. So you put those points and then you choose 8 different traits, things that your character has or know how to do with skills, things like that. You choose 8 and you assign a die for each one of them, this like selection here. And that's why you have like these lines for each die. You put your traits in here, so it can be like things like in arrow and bow and arrow, brute strength, like really it's force. It can be intelligence, it can be some type of specific magic. You just use your imagination depending on your character. So let's say you create a wizard. There is a specialist in, it's a necromancer, so he has the ability to like summon the dead. This is one ability. You can put it here in any place. And the thing about these places is the higher the die, kind of better are the chances of you succeeding on that on that specific ability when you're in game. So if you have an ability that you think it's more important for your character, or if you want to be more game strategic and not narrative strategic, you would put the ability that you think is more versatile and it's going to give you the best results. So there are different ways to approach the game. You can be narrative inclined and put like just the things that are going to be fun and give a good story, even though they might make you lose at some point. Or you can be more game strategic and put things up the line here that are going to be more helpful in game and make you survive better. So this is what you do here, and you can go check my live archive from TikTok that I always put here on the channel to see how I played it. So you do that, put all your traits here, and this die represent what you're going to roll whenever you want to use that ability in particular. We're going to get to that in a minute. And it explains here, it can be anything from skills, abilities, racial traits, capabilities, equipment, even like I said, a bow and arrow, sword, anything you can do in here. And you can mix and match. You can put all weapons, you can put all magic power, you can put whatever you want. And how do you play that? So it explains here, and as I said, there is an example on the back, but let's go to one of the adventure modules, and they are all the same. So you have like the character sheet here, which I never use really. I just put this one in here because I was carrying it around and I didn't want to carry the rules and I never remember the numbers correctly. So I'm probably going to put this in every one of those. But I usually use a little bit of paper or I write on my phone. I take my notes on my phone. So you always have your character sheet here and you have the prompts, how I call them. I don't even remember if the rules call them prompts or not. But you have the prompts here. And you basically, you start with 1d6. So like a regular d6 dice. So you're going to need your dice set, or you can download an app to roll dice. I like the real thing, but an app works very well, especially if you're on the go. So you start with a d6 and you roll that d6. I got a 1, so I go to number 1 here. You have also these narrative points here with a little lock symbol, and this is basically telling you how the story is going, predefined the story, and with this predefinition you're going to add by using the prompt. So you read how the story is going and then you get your prompt. So it's a dark storm clouds. So on top of this one you add this environmental factor that the clouds are dark and it's looking like it's going to storm, and then you tell your story. So what your character does in this case, maybe he or she is going to try to find shelter so it doesn't get caught up in the storm. Maybe he or she is going to use that to make some ritual. I don't know, depending on your character you can use this in different forms. So based on what you created for your character, you use that prompt. So other things you have here, we have a crumbling wall, so they may get caught up in something like being demolished or something like that. Enchanted ivy, so there are some like vine plants or stuff like that trying to attack him or her, and you just go with the flow. Once you finish that prompt, you can roll a die again, and this is the new die you're going to roll. There are some specifics here. So going back to the rules here, you have an explanation of the like symbols, and these lock symbols are the plot points. So you have the story like advancing a little bit more with your prompts and those points. And you usually roll two dice to solve combat or solve plot points. The dice you're going to roll are the, in this case, the d6 that you started. And let's say you got the crumbling wall. Let's say it was a 2 that I rolled and I had the crumbling wall. I need a d4. So I'm going to roll both of them, and then I roll two dice from my abilities. So the crumbling wall, let's say I'm talking about a wizard and she has a magic shield spell that is going to be my d12, the highest one, and she has, let's say, a d8 for a telekinetic spell. So she can try either to defend by creating a shield so she doesn't get crushed by the crumbling things, or she can try to move those debris and stuff using telekinesis. So I roll for the plot points, and I got a 2 and a 3, and I roll for her powers, and I got an 11 and a 4. So 11 is the biggest one, and it wins against the plot points. So I have like skills versus plot points. The skills win against the plot points is the highest one, and this is the shield. So narratively, you would explain how that casting of this shield helps her to not get crushed or not fall into this trap or whatever it is that the prompt says that is happening. And by these rolls here, you can see that, hey, but you rolled a d6 and a d4 versus a d8 and a d12. Of course, this one have the advantage. And that's the point. You divide the skills here on a way that you think is going to be more interesting or more helpful to you. And whenever you need to solve a prompt here, you may have the advantage, you may not have the advantage. So sometimes you might roll 2d6s, and if you only have a one set of dice, you can just roll twice. So I would roll a 6 and a 1, so it's a lot less than I had on my big dice. So that's the point. Sometimes you will have the advantage, sometimes you will not, because the die here for the situations, they change a lot. And how do you change the die? So let's say we manage to create our shield. Here we pass through this challenge, and then we roll again. Now we have to roll our, so to get to the next plot point, you roll a d6 again. You usually roll a d6 to advance. So there you go, we have a 6. So imagining our example that we are on the 2, plus 6, we're going to get to the 8, which is Screeching Owl Familiar. So now I know that we have an owl familiar in the story. It can be an owl familiar to my character, since I said she was like a wizard, a witch kind of thing, or it can be an owl familiar from the enemy, and now I have to deal with that. So it depends on what you want to uh, do in this case, what your imagination tells you to do on that prompt. And now we have the d8, and the last one was a d4. So instead of rolling d6 and d4 for the situation, I'm going to roll d6 and d8 for the situation. And I got like 1 and 1, so it's probably going to fail. And like to deal with this owl familiar, it's screeching, so it's making a lot of noise. So let's say she wants to quiet it down. You can look into her traits and see that if there's something that she can do to like calm down the owl, or if there's something she can do to make the owl disappear and go to like another plane or something like that. It all depends on your traits here. And if I'm not mistaken, the rules tell you like if you can't find a trait or an ability that works, you can just like define a default one. Like if I'm not mistaken, it's the d6 probably. It's all in here. And I've played a session, as I said, and it's all on my live as well, so you can look it up. I always look it up when I'm playing and don't remember anything. And that's how you do. You always get the current die plus the last one you had. So you gotta keep notes on some paper or something, so that you roll those 2 dice against the 2 dice of your character. So that's how the decision is made. So you don't need oracles, you don't need random generators. It's all in here. So you keep going until you find like you probably find you probably find around here some treasure, like this one. You will find some combats with this icon here, and you have like the amount of damage that's going to like defeat this combat. And damage is like the difference between the dice. So if you roll like an 8 and the prompt here rolled like a 7, you win, and the difference is 1, so you cause 1 point of damage, and you keep going on the rolls until you defeat that thing. So that's how Dungeon Hero works, and every other like adventure is the same thing. They just have different settings, monsters, everything's different from one to another, and you can play them multiple times because again you're going to be rolling on the prompts, and that's going to give you like new ideas depending on which one you roll every time you play this. And that's why I have like a bunch in here, but you can just go around with one adventure if you have the rules kind of like on your mind, which are not very difficult once you kind of learn their little things that you might have to remember. So you can carry those 2, and it's still pretty pocketable. So this is Dungeon Hero. Now let's go to Pocket Delver, which is the one I prefer. Just because it's more like sandboxy, and you don't have like a lot of predefined prompts. In this case here, the character creation tells you to roll some dice to define the hit points, the amount of mana which is used for magic. So hit points is basically your constitution, how you survive getting damage, and mana is how you make magic, you cast spells. and every character can do that. So it's not just like, oh, wizards have mana but warriors don't. No, everyone can do a little bit of magic here. Your character can make use of that. And then you have your stats. That's brawn, dexterity, cunning, and will, and they are explained here on the little book. And then you can assign to each one of these stats one of these dice here. Again, you would put the higher one into the characteristics that are more important to you, to your character, or if you're being strategic, to the game, probably. And how do we play this? Um, each one of these stats is important for something. So for combat, you use brawn. For sneaking, you're going to use cunning. For magic, you're going to use mana. And what's the other one? Brawn, dexterity, cunning, will. Oh, actually, oh no, yeah, dexterity I think is here. Yeah, dexterity is here, cunning is here, combat is brawn, and magic is mana. So you're going to use the dice that you define for it. And every time you're going to basically roll against your enemy or against the trap or against the situation. These ones are against the enemy. This is against the situation, trying to sneak or run away from combat or something like that. And traps is trying to prevent yourself from getting caught up in a trap or trying to release yourself from a trap and things like that. So you're going to roll that dice against the dice for these things in here. And that's how you see if you succeeded or not. And again, as the other one, the difference between the dice are like either the points of damage that you get or deal, or the amount of like the difference that's dealt to your enemy or whatever happened in the situation is based on the difference between the die, which is mostly for combat, because sneaking away you just sneak away or you don't, and traps you just is really you're just released or not. And then you have how to create a dungeon, and I like that because I like drawing little maps. And this one's quite simple. You like start in a single square and you keep rolling to define how many like doors connecting rooms you have. It may be a dead end, so you don't have anything else on that room. You may have one exit, two or three, and so you can explore one of these three, two, or one exit that come up. And every time you are in a room, you can roll for a encounter, for treasure, or effect. So you may find treasure, you may find some type of magic or something that causes something to you or give you some prize, or that maybe a trap or something like that. So that you roll on this one and then you keep going. Okay, and it says here which die you roll. So 3d6, 1d6 for this one, 3d6, 3d6, and then you have a list of enemies, so you know like their brawn, dexterity, cunning, and will. So that's how you know when you're rolling, like which dice to roll against which. So sometimes your die is going to be smaller than your enemy's die, and sometimes your enemy's die is going to be smaller than yours. So it's kind of balanced in a sense, because you never know which one you're going to find, because you're going to roll in here to actually find them. And I think this one is better because it's simpler in a sense that you only use a d6, so you can carry like a bunch of d6s with you. 3 I think is the maximum you need if you want to roll like the 3 at a time, but you can always carry just one and roll 1. So 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13, and then you come here, 13, this is what I got, or here 13, this is what I got, or even here 13, this is what I get. So I think this one is easier, and as I said, it's more like although it's simpler, it's also a little bit more complex from a TTRPG point of view, because you have like dungeons being generated, which, being honest with you, makes your notes look so cute, because you're going to have like a little dungeon on the side, and then your stats being tracked here in a mess. And maybe if you take notes, you can say like found a boss, found treasure, and things like that, and then you can keep going. And if you like lose a roll, you will on your character sheet be taking out points from your HP, or if you start using magic, you're going to stay taking out from your mana. And the goal is like finish the mission, which you are going to define in, not here, in here. You're going to define what's your mission. And once you finish the mission, if you have like HP and mana, I think HP is the more important. If you still have like health points, you're good. If you go to 0 before you finish your quest, then yeah, you lost. So try again. And it's just like a single book. So this one's my favorite out of the two, but they are both great. And you saw like I just needed like a set of dice. For this one in particular, I only need D6. So that's it. For this one, I still need like a bunch of different dice. But I didn't need oracles, I didn't need extra tables, I didn't need any extra prior knowledge. I just need these things, and in the case of this one, like an adventure to complement it. So these are the two that I want to show you, because they are my favorite, just because I can just pick them up and play. No worries, no setup, no nothing. I just pick them up, pick some dice, and play. So that's why I wanted to show, because I think it's such a low barrier for you to start playing solo TTRPGs, or if you already play, or if you already played regular like group TTRPGs and solo TTRPGs, and you've been playing for a while, and you just want something that lowers the friction to actually start playing. These are the things. And sometimes when I spend like a lot of time not playing and I want to get back to playing, I just go for one of these, because it's zero preparation, it's basically zero work, it's just playing and having fun, and I get back into the hobby, and it's just great. Okay, so I hope you liked this video. Tell me below if you have any other alternatives that you think are great for solo TTRPG. As everyone that already follows me might know, I have like a bunch of alternatives for it, but these ones are just so close to my heart that I want to show them for anyone that is interested. Remember to leave a like and comment below, because that's really helping the channel, and I see you in the next video. Bye.